Today's video is all about taking on too much in the garden in one go. Or more importantly, taking on too much in the garden in one YouTube episode. Hey everyone, how's it going? And welcome back to what is, well, actually a very wet and windy winter's day here in Ireland. All too often, I think that YouTube episodes tend to make even the biggest jobs seem that little bit too quick and easy, particularly in gardening, where even if a job's big, it can just be like, boom, and it's done. But actually a whole load of hard work has to go on in the background to make that possible. And that's what happened in my video last week. I had this plan that I would do a video all about planting tulips and spring bulbs in December, that I would talk about creating 2 new beds in the orchard. So the first one is going to go from this apple tree to the one just over here, and the second one, well, the second one is going to be up here, and it's going to be between this tree and the tree behind it. I would talk about the bulbs that I was choosing to plant. The first thing that I'm planting are tulips, and these are Tulip Queen of Night. The next things that I'm putting in are these. These are snake's head fritillaries, or Fritillaria meleagris. And then the final thing, which I've never grown before, are these. These are anemones, and they're called Bordeaux. Then I would show you stripping the beds, getting them ready for planting, and I'd plant the bulbs into it. And I plan to do that in a day. Not just a day, actually, an afternoon. But as you can imagine, that's not exactly how it transpired. So I thought this week that I would show you all of the work that went on behind the scenes to make last week's video possible, but more importantly, how I learned a very valuable lesson about managing my own expectations, knowing my own limitations, and most importantly, learning that it's okay to have a rethink and come up with a new plan, even if you're halfway through doing something. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing, and if you enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up. Both of those things really help to support the channel by telling YouTube that people like you are enjoying the videos I make, and it'll help more people find the channel. And here's what actually happened in a job that I thought was only going to take an afternoon, and it begins with a very optimistic start. So the first thing I need to do is strip off all of this grass. Bear with me, because I could be some time. So for the majority of the turf, I can just cut it off really quickly using the spade and do it kind of roughly. But there are some areas where I do need to be really careful, particularly around the base of each of the trees. Aside from the tree roots themselves, there's already lovely little spring plants that are coming up that I'd really rather save than just severing off and killing. Things like spring bulbs that are coming up. You can see there's some daffodils that are already about 2 inches high. There's a little pink primrose here. It's a nice little healthy plant, and it's already got some buds, so it would be a total shame to kill that. And there's also some cowslips and oxlips. Now, confession time, I've already taken the spade to a section of bulbs here, and unfortunately, rather than just taking the tips off, I have literally gone through halfway through each of the bulbs, and they're goners. So I'm going to have to slow down a little bit and just take a little bit more care when I'm working in these areas. And don't worry, none of this is getting wasted, because this is really, really good stuff. I've got a turf stack down at the back of the polytunnel where I'll lay these upside down so that the grass will die off. Once it dies off, it'll break down into a really nice loam, and that loam can get incorporated into beds, into raised beds, and realistically this is going to end up in my polytunnel beds and the new vegetable garden beds. Okay, you get the picture. I'm going to keep doing the hard work, and we'll come back when this is all done. Okay, I'm getting there slowly but surely, the emphasis being on slowly. As with everything in this garden, this is taking way longer than expected because it's way bigger than I'd expected. This is something that I've learned, having been here for about a year now, is that every job that looks like it's not going to be that big ends up being absolutely massive. So if I factor in a couple of hours to get something done, I need to really be taking about a day to get it done. This is going to take me a good bit longer. The other thing is it's winter, and at the moment it is 3:10 and sunset is at 4:05, so there's not an awful lot more daylight where I can work to keep going at this. And I don't know if you've noticed, but actually, although there's another hour of light, it's really, really shady in the garden. If you look around, you can see the tops of trees, glimmers through the hedge, little shafts of light on the side of trees that shows that there is nice bright light out there, but we've got really high hedges all around the garden, and it means that at this time of year it's really, really shaded for most of the morning and also for most of the afternoon. That's something that I'm going to come back to in another video, probably around the start of the new year, because it's really important for when I'm setting up the veg garden, and it's going to mean I'm going to be doing a whole load more work. Hello, and yep, you guessed it, I've got different clothes on, so it's day 2. After I left you yesterday, I kept working away until the sun went down, lifting up the turf, getting rid of it, and the bed is really starting to take shape, which is brilliant. So all I have to do now is lift off the last few bits of turf with the spade, and then comes the slightly tricky bit. I need to work around the base of both of the trees, picking through it with the trowel, because there's stuff that has to go, like creeping buttercup and moss and grass. All of that stuff needs to go, but there's stuff that I need to keep, like the bulbs and the spring flowering plants that are already in situ. This is really not going to plan today, because now I'm in the polytunnel. I don't know whether you can hear it, but I'm in here because I'm sheltering from the rain, because it is chucking it down right now. I managed to get that last little segment filmed where I said, hello, I'm going to get this bed finished today. I got about 8 slices of turf lifted, and then the rain started. And now I'm here. So this is one of these jobs that's just starting to get bigger and bigger, and I think what I'm going to have to do is have a rethink. I suppose that's just the way gardening is sometimes, is that you might underestimate a job, which is exactly what I've done here, or things conspire against you, whether it's the weather or something else, and you just got to roll with it. So I'm going to be kind on myself. I'm going to chill out here for a bit until the rain stops, and hope that maybe through the afternoon I can dodge the showers and get the bed finished. The weather's lifted a little bit, and although it's still raining a little bit, it's not raining too bad, so I'm going to keep pressing on. Now I'm on to the tricky bit of the job, and that's working around underneath the apple trees using a trowel rather than a spade, and that's because I need to lift out some really pernicious weeds like creeping buttercup and daisy, but at the same time keeping the spring bulbs and the spring plants that I want. This bit is really going to take some time. Another change of clothes, and that means it's day 3. But in good news, the orchard bed is finally finished. Saying that though, only 1 out of the 2 of them is finished, and that's why I've ended up making this video. It's about knowing your limitations and managing your expectations. 2 things that, if I'm really honest, I'm not always the best at. I have a tendency of overestimating what I can get done, and this is a prime example of that. My plan had been I was going to do a nice little quick video about how you can plant tulips and spring bulbs in December. It was going to be a video where I talked about the bulbs, quickly got the bed ready, in fact not just one bed, but both beds ready, planted the bulbs, and I'd be done. Easy. The first afternoon went in, and I was nowhere near ready. Second day, I was dodging showers, I was getting more and more muddy, starting to get a bit dispirited, and it was at that point that really I had to sit and think, am I able to do this? And I realized that all I was going to do was absolutely exhaust myself trying to get it done. So I'm having a rethink. Rather than doing both beds at the same time and filling them with bulbs, I'm just going to work on this bed. I'm going to finish it to a standard that I'm happy with, and I know I can always come back and work on the other bed further up in the orchard if I want to. And I suppose that's the point of the video. This was a video that wasn't even meant to happen. It's actually just happened because I realized how much footage I had of how much work went into just doing this. This bed that from the house looks really small, but when you're here, well, you realize it's actually really, really big and a lot of work. So I'm going to be kind on myself and I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm going to enjoy finishing working on this bed, get it really nicely done, and then I'm going to enjoy it for the winter, and more importantly, enjoy it once all the spring bulbs come up. And that's my message to you from this video, is if you do the same as me, if you take on a job, particularly in the garden, that is way bigger than you expected, or something conspires against you while you're doing it and you have to rein in your plans and make them smaller, or maybe just not even do a section, even if it's a section that you were hoping for, go easy on yourself. These things happen, and it's really not the end of the world. It's only gardening. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be good for us. So don't put yourself under any pressure. However, I now need to get bulb planting, and more importantly, I need to film the bulb planting, because if you haven't seen it already, it's going into the video, which I'll link here, that I showed last week. Yeah, that's a bit of a head melt. I'm getting a bit confused now, but it's linked up here, and it's the video that came out last week, all about planting tulips and spring bulbs in December. So as ever, leave a comment down below, because I love hearing from you and I love hearing about your own experiences in your gardens. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, hit subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you'll be notified when I post my next video. And until next time, see you later.